Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 285 of the Mighty Whites podcast. I'm Jack, as always, joined by Casey.
Now then,
How's things, mate?
yeah, good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Nice to just have a day where I have actually got done at work nice and early, not had to rush about too much. Always makes it a lot easier. And not having to rush about too much and making things easy pretty much sums up the game against Plymouth on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. Nice, simple win against a team that wasn't very good, that we didn't think would be very good. I think the saving grace was that we got the goal in the first half, and I don't think at any point we really got to the stage where you were panicking that we were never going to get the goal. We just kind of went in and did the job as needed doing.
Yeah, like I wrote down a couple of quick notes before we started, and at first I started to write, made it difficult until 1-0, but difficult is the wrong word because they didn't make it difficult. So I've made it stodgy until 1-0. I think is probably fairer. Plymouth started with a flat back six, sort of a 6-3-1. They did a thing I don't think I've ever seen before outside of, maybe if a team pulls it from 2-0 to 2-1 with like 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
The Leeds kicked off, and not including Ryan Hardy, their striker, none of their players went forward. They just all dropped 10 yards. And
yeah.
I remember saying to the guy next to me at the ground, like I said, "Oh, that's what their plan is then." And it's not often you get to see a team's entire game plan, like 1.5 seconds into a game. But this was it. I mean, obviously, there is dominant performances, and then there's ones where it's more a complete lack of assertion from the other team. I thought Leeds were good in this game, but I don't think we were any better than good. And I just thought Plymouth offered absolutely nothing. And as an XG of 0 will tell you, they offered nothing.
Yeah, they as you said, from the kickoff, their first step was we will drop back 10 yards before we've touched the ball. Showed no attacking intent whatsoever. Ryan Hardy, I think you could probably count on one hand the amount of times he actually really touched the ball. Never got to him. Never was in any danger of winning the ball in any dangerous positions. And I think relatively early on, we kind of went with, can we get Dan James in behind?
Yeah,
it was quite nice that when you've got a team that's sat that deep, having two wingers that cut inside naturally can at times slow things down, and then all of a sudden you're putting crosses or shots into a congested area. And Dan James, I think, didn't take us too long for us to start finding those passes in behind the full back and the centre back to get him in.
Yeah, he didn't even get on the end of that many of them. It just that when we were willing to go early and go diagonal, we could turn them round, and we could, because they obviously had a flat back six and therefore no one forward and three in midfield. And I mean, like the three that they had laid in midfield, like, I don't really know anything about Caleb Roberts or Jordan Houghton, and I've just watched them play a game of football, and I still don't. But Adam Forshaw's not exactly got great legs in midfield at this point. And so anytime we did try that diagonal ball, even if when the fullback headed it clear, it just meant, oh, we have the ball 22 yards out.
Yeah, it was very much attack versus defence, especially the first half, where it was...
Which I believe word for word we said in the preview, this will be attack versus defence.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the biggest concern and kind of the reason why I predicted a 1-0 win was I could have seen that getting to 60, 70 minutes. And again, I think we spoke about this last time of having a lot of possession, having the ball around the edge of their penalty area, but not really having any sort of penetration from there. And it just turned out that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I had 2-0 for similar reasons. For what it's worth, Alex had 4-0. Connie and Benny both had 3-0, so they had 8 points, which makes it grim reading for Alex, who is way behind at this point. It's quite tight between the rest of us. Also, for what it's worth in the updates, no one gets any points for the first under-21 debut because there was 4 shouts for Charlie Crew, and I think Connie went for James DeBio. But yeah, Sam Chambers wins by a few minutes.
Yeah, it's quite nice to see it because I think this was absolutely the sort of game where we have said you're in a position, give these players minutes now.
Yeah,
rest some players, and lo and behold, he actually did, and Charlie Crew amassed a higher XG than Plymouth.
Yep, and rightly so. Yeah, so it was a bit stodgy. Leeds, to be fair, the one thing that'll give Plymouth is until the first goal, Leeds weren't actually creating massive chances. We always looked like we were going to get one, but it wasn't like missing loads. It wasn't like the start of the Portsmouth game where we were missing massive chances. But sometimes you just need us to do what we're best at, which is scoring from the corner.
Yeah. Set piece specialists.
Yeah, crossed in, headed out to Willie Nonto, lays it off for Dan James, who takes what appears to not be a very good first touch, followed by an unbelievable second one into the top corner. This was a weird one because I've seen it back on TV now, and it's a really good strike. The technique is weird because he's stretching for it, but he hits it perfect. In the ground, it looked like a full-on toe bung. I mean, to be honest, we had a load of space wide. I was shouting to play it wide. And then he swung through it and just smashed it into the top left corner.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that it probably wasn't what you would call the shooting territory for that. But I think once we made the connection, it almost seemed to sort of glide in. Like it didn't seem the fastest shot, but it was just in the perfect place for it, so the keeper wasn't going to get there. Yeah. And it was good. We absolutely needed that, and because at that point you knew, right, even though they're probably not going to come out and go for it now, a flat back 6 is not going to do them any good here at this point.
Yeah. Well, the guy next to me said, "Oh, they'll have to come out now," and I went, "I bet they don't come out now," because I did think, nah, given this setup, they're going to wait a little bit. However, then 3 minutes later, ball is driven into the ball. It was a Tanaka volley that he didn't quite catch. And then Plymouth have a mix-up, sort of clear the ball against each other. Peru reacts quickest, holds off the defender. You know, the sort of one you'd expect to score once he gets there, but he finishes it well. And then it's 2-0 at 33 minutes. And that's basically the game. Done. And I then said to the guy next to me, I went, now they'll have to come out from a back 6. Nope, wrong again. Because they remained in the back 6. Sit deep, defend, really nothing to show for it. Then there's a ball in then 5 minutes later, a ball into Joe Peru, who takes a really good first touch, goes for an extravagant backheel finish, which is blocked, but it falls straight to Brendan Aronson. Good finish. And then at 3-0, they did start to step up a little bit and made some changes to try and actually get in the game. When I say try and get in the game, I mean, they just stopped playing the back 6. They never tried to get back in the game.
Yeah.
And at 2-0, we both said, no, put your foot down, really go for this. And we got the third. And that was the key that was such a difference between this and that Watford game, although Watford are a lot better than these. Easing off and just letting the game drift at 2-0 can come back to get you. And it can at 3-0, but it didn't look like it was going to. And although we did then do the Farker ease off, save your legs, lads game, I minded it much less this time because it was 3-0 instead of 2-0, and we've got 3 games in a week. So this time it made much more sense to do it. And although we probably on a different day could have ended up with 6-7 against these, 3-0 and what will have felt like a cool down session for the second half is great to see, really.
Yeah, like you say, it was a gentle stroller. I think we had, I will say, 4 minutes at the start of the second half. That was, lads, you still need to play a bit here. Like, you still need to actually connect your passes.
Yeah, we got a bit sloppy. Like Strout did a couple of really weird things at the start of the second half, and there was a few others. And I think they maybe got a bit of a bollocking from the sideline after 5 minutes of that half.
Yeah, it definitely needed sort of an Ancelotti eyebrow. So it's just
come on. Right, I know the game's won, but let's not take the piss.
Don't be stupid now.
Yeah. In the second half, I mean, I will mention all the changes, but there isn't loads to say about the first ones. Joseph and Solomon come on for Aronson and James. Piru went to 10. Then, Sam Chambers for Willie Nonto, which is the change no one in the ground saw happening. And a lot of people, and me included from that distance, was going, who the hell's that? Because, I mean, I've seen Sam Chambers play about, 15 minutes of pre-season football on a not great quality live stream months ago.
Yeah.
I could barely tell who it was. But then the ones that were, I thought he had a couple of nice. He had one bit where he got him behind down the right, where he looked a bit about him, but there wasn't able to really tell. Things that you could, and Charlie Crew came on for Joe Peru very late on and had a pretty good shot from distance that we saw. I think the most important one to talk about subs wise and from what we saw was Josh Gilavogi coming on for Joe Rothwell. Gilavogi came on in midfield and got like quarter of an hour. And although it was a very no pressure situation, he won the ball back like 3 or 4 times pretty quickly. His passing looked good. I knew that he was big, but he's bigger than I thought.
Yeah, he's a unit.
Yeah, nearly got a header in at the end, just by attacking the ball well. And obviously, you can't really tell much from that. But as early signs go, for a player who's just here to be a backup, be in the squad, and be good for the young players, an experienced head in there, he looked the part in a game where, admittedly, you could have probably pulled a player from a much lower league team and stuck him in midfield for the second half, and he'd have looked the part.
Yeah, I mean, with him coming on, it was the vast majority of his play was ball into feet, turn 90 degrees, lay it off to the other side. And then I think at one point we'd commented on that, and that's when he decided he was going to play a searching crossfield ball to the left hand side.
Yeah, he did play one really nice.
And you're like, nice. No, he's got it in the locker. We're all fine. At this, as watching him barely have to jog at any point in that game, I will say I don't know if I need to see him in a foot race with anyone at this point, but to see him get on and probably be someone who I think I dare say we probably won't see him start many games unless all our central midfielders get injured.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at you'd need at least 3 central midfield injuries, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
As opposed to the 2 we've got now. It was mentioned in the press conference today. I didn't see the press conference. I just saw people on about on Twitter after. That Ampadu is like back on the grass and running, but that doesn't mean that he's particularly close.
Yeah, so is Stuart Dallas.
To being back in. I believe the team news was no one else is out. Bamford and Gellert could be back, which would just change the order of the bench. But yeah, it was a very, very, very comfortable win. And it's too early in the season to properly care about results around us, but they, for the most part, weren't bad. There was a lot of draws. I mean, Sunderland drew. Burnley got beat by Millwall 1-0, which we will talk about a bit more in a sec. There's been a lot said about this league not looking as good this season. I think it's true because when I think of how poor Watford looked for most of that game and their fifth, it doesn't look the strongest.
No. I know the talk has always kind of been the Championship. Oh, anyone can beat anyone, but I think at this point, the extent with which anyone can beat anyone is kind of been extended a little bit now. You're seeing quite a few results that probably shouldn't be happening. Certainly at this point of the season. I know we were talking last night about kind of Scott Parker and the sentiment towards him from the Burnley fans is souring already, shall we say. Luton haven't got going at all. Sheffield United got off to a great start.
Luton are 21st.
Yeah, as well. Apologies, Luton. It's happening again.
Bear in mind everything we just said about Plymouth. Luton are level on points with Plymouth.
Oh God. Sheffield United got off to a good start to the season, but I haven't seen a whole lot of them that's made me think, yeah, they're going to pull away in all of this. And I still can't say we've been massively impressive. I think we talked about the two best performances. I think head and shoulders, the Sheffield United game was our best performance, followed by Sheff Wednesday. And then everything else, at best, you can kind of say is maybe a bit routine without really showing off too much or anything like that. And then there's kind of the Watford game in there as well, which, given how we played so far, I can kind of let it go a bit. The Watford game, it happens. You came away with the win, so that was kind of the most important part. But there's no one team that you're looking at the moment going, well, this is their league this year.
Yeah. Well, that is how I feel as well. There's no one team that feels like it's their league. Now, if you ask a fan of the other 23 Championship teams, they would say it's us.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, but I think that it is just a Leeds United pessimism thing, and we've seen this play before. Like, we'll see what happens with it. But one of the most informed teams in the league is Millwall, and that's who we play tomorrow night away from home. Millwall have won their last 3 games. Betty have won them all 1-0.
Classic Millwall.
Yeah, I was just going to check that. Yeah, they beat Plymouth 1-0 at home, Swansea 1-0 away, and then the most impressive win beating Burnley 1-0 at the weekend. It was on Sunday, actually, not Saturday, wasn't it? But yeah, Millwall squad looks quite Millwall again. Because they had some weird ones where they didn't seem the same. Like last year, they didn't seem the same. But like Macaulay Langstaff being up front, someone who scored a shitload of goals for Notts County in the National League and in League Two, that seems a bit more like it for a proper Millwall striker. The one thing that should translate in terms of levels is the straight up finishing. And he does, whenever I've seen him, he does look a really good finisher. Whether the pace and the movement will be the same at this level, I don't know. They've still got George Honeyman, who's pretty good. They've still got George Saville, who's pretty good. Japhet Tanganga obviously played a fair bit for Spurs in the Premier League at centre-back, and they still have big, massive bastard Jake Cooper, who every time we play against him, I'm terrified of him at set pieces because he is massive and he gets on the end of everything. And with Joe Bryan as well, who's a really good set piece taker, that's obviously something that you have to keep a lookout for. But it's once again like any of the other teams that we play this year. You look through them player for player, and we should be fine.
Yeah, I'm just looking through now. So you said there they put together 3 back-to-back 1-0 wins, which one beat Burnley, Jake Cooper goal.
What is that? I was scared. I didn't see it was
beat Swansea 1-0, 90th minute winner, and beat Millwall. Beat Plymouth 1-0. And then sort of predating that, it's a little bit all over the place. 1-0 with Derby, 0-0 with West Brom, which is kind of West Brom's MO at the moment.
West Brom drawn like 5 straight.
Yeah. Lost to Cardiff 1-0, beat Preston 3-1, drew with QPR, lost to Luton. So yeah, they've kind of.
You see, that sounds like you're describing a team that there's nothing there, but they're 7th because the championship is always so tight. 3 wins in a row and you go flying up.
I mean, you look at the form table, and kind of I have it here on Google, so admittedly it's only the last 5 games. There's teams that there's a number of teams from Millwall up that have won 3 of their last 5. But then you've got Sheffield United have lost 2 of those. Watford have lost 2 of those. Burnley have 4th and have only won 1 in their last 5. A lot of draws going on at the top end of the table.
Yeah, there has been quite a lot of them.
I suppose at the moment, and I know it's obviously still sort of thinning out a bit, but you've got West Brom have the last playoff place at the moment with 21 points, and then you can go down to 11th, and it's all within 3 points still. There's so many draws in the Championship. It's not just West Brom. It's mostly West Brom, but yeah, it's an odd league this year. I don't know what to make of it, but we should beat Millwall. Like again, they are a fine Championship team,
and they are managed by not
club
just
legend.
I would say not Championship bastard, Millwall bastard Neil Harris.
Millwall's very own Darren Ferguson.
Yeah, it's more specific than Championship, isn't it? With
him.
Yeah. I look through all of that, and like player for player, we should have them. They appear to play 4-2-3-1 in every game, so there shouldn't be anything particularly interesting tactically. Sam Byram has done very well stepping in, but you would assume Bogle comes straight back in, provided there's no fitness issues. And I would assume that's the only change. Because, I mean, like, again, he has done it before when it's 3 games in a week where he may bring in Joseph because he don't want to start the same player up front for all 3. But because if he was going to do it, I expected it to be the Plymouth game. Because he didn't, and I don't think he's going to full stop. I think it'll just be Bogle in for Byram and everything else will be the same.
I think your biggest one is probably Dan James' fitness and whether Solomon comes in and Nonto goes back to the right.
Yeah. But I don't think he will, because I think that's why he took Dan James off after sort of 65 minutes in the last game. I think it was with an eye on this.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, obviously they don't have to mention stuff, but nothing got mentioned in the press conference about anyone being unfit. So I'd have to assume that's probably fine. When I was looking through there, I do fancy Dan James against Joe Bryan as sort of a battle. And that's sort of one that I always go for. Now, looking at literally just his ratings and stuff, because I haven't seen enough of him really. That Aziz seems to have something about him where, like, he doesn't always fire, but when he does, he can be a bit dangerous. So if Femi Aziz can get some space on the counter attack, he might not even start because they might go with a more timid option. But he probably would be a pretty decent threat for them.
Yeah. Yeah. But they, again, will have some threat, but I fancy us to manage it. There's, as you say, it's very much a set pieces, nothing daft, just 4 men on the posts, everyone else marking Jake Cooper, and we should be fine.
Yeah. By the looks of it, in most of the other games, they've played Romain Essa on the right. And so I think they'll probably go back to that for this one. So yeah, they're probably not even going to play Aziz. I wonder if they might play Duncan Watmore off the left just because he works his bollocks off.
Yeah, potentially. That's it's a way they could go with it.
Yeah, I don't have predictions off everyone yet because obviously, well, not obviously to people that are listening later, but we've done this like in the middle of the afternoon because it's when we both had a gap. So I haven't messaged everyone and got it sorted. I'll put them out on Twitter, but we'll get ours now. It's Millwall away, so there's just an inbuilt level of pessimism wanting to come out. But they seem to be going for low-scoring games. We're defending really well, so if they're trying to keep it tight, so long as we don't do out stupid, which admittedly it's Leeds, you never know. I think we should be fine. So I'm going to say Leeds win 2-0.
I'm going to go for back-to-back 1-0 win predictions. I think physically it could be an interesting one. It was quite nice to see Peru have an improved performance against Plymouth after a couple of.
Yeah,
I'll generously say low-key performances.
Yeah, I don't think he was outstanding or anything, but he was definitely a noticeable amount better than the previous two games. I on the walk back from the game, despite him going off early, I still edged it just to Dan James, my man at match. But I think there was a few that you could have given it to and it not been unreasonable. Like I thought Rothwell and Tanaka were both pretty good in midfield. Aronson was pretty good and got a goal. I thought Nonto was a bit off it.
Yeah, a quieter day for Nonto. But I suppose if nothing else, he chose a good day for it.
Yeah, I remember saying that in the ground. If you're going to have a bad game, because I think I predicted him to be the player that had made the difference for us, and he really wasn't. But if you're going to have a bad game, that's one to do it. And I mean, Roden, the entire back four, well, we weren't troubled defensively. Firpo, we looked better balanced down that side for having Firpo back there again. Just for the shape he gives them, the way he gets up and down. Defence was good. And Melier, if it was Football Manager, started on the 6.5 and ended on the 6.5. Because you couldn't have put me in goal because a Plymouth player could have shot from 50 yards and maybe scored with me in goal. But just someone physically, I reckon Leeds would have won if we'd have had Mateo Joseph in goal. Like physically,
I was at least going to say, like, you know, a conference level goalkeeper.
Oh yeah, that'd have been no problem. I think that if we'd have had, I won't say Geisley because they just drew with Bristol Rovers and they should have got a replay, but then again they fucked up the FA Cup, haven't they? Yeah, like just a good Sunday League goalkeeper.
Yeah,
it'd have been fine. But yeah, I think I'd have given it Dan James. If we could have a load more games as comfortable as that, it would be very nice. But the Championship doesn't tend to be like that. And Millwall away definitely won't be like that because Millwall's fans will not allow it to drift like that.
Leeds United don't tend to do things like
that. So yeah, so else that we need to add, Casey? I don't think there is.
No, been just a nice, simple week.
Cool. Well, I thought this would be a quick one. There will probably be another quick one on either Thursday or Friday.